Minds on the stars. Creators light the darkness, innovators pave the way. Stories that we follow. Create greater than consume. Hearts wide open, reaching for the moon. Create greater than consume. Dreams in motion, brighter than the noon.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Create and Consume, the podcast where we deep dive into stories of creators making a meaningful impact in the world. I'm your host Omkar Kadam, and today we have an incredibly special episode lined up for you. Today's theme is one that deeply resonates with me and with several of us: the importance of preserving memories and bridging the generational gap. Elder loneliness and generational information loss are pressing issues, and our guest is someone who is working passionately to address this. Joining us today is Ruggero, the founder of Fable AI. Fable is a remarkable initiative that captures the memories of elders and transforms them into written stories so that our families and the future generations remember the stories. And Ruggero's work not only preserves precious memories, but it also strengthens the family bond and ensures that the wisdom of our elders is never lost. Ruggero, welcome to Create and Consume. We are thrilled to have you here. Please share your journey and the incredible impact of Fable. Welcome again.
Hello, Omkar. Thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure and an honor to be one of the first guests on your amazing podcast. You described it perfectly. Fable is something very close to me. I have one grandparent left. She's 96 years old today. Her name is Rosanna. She's in Italy. And Fable was born out of the need to try to keep elders as much company as they can, as much as a voice can keep somebody company without a body. But especially to try and preserve memories for future generations. Everybody, and I'm now focusing on elders, but I believe that I will be a user of Fable at 30 years old myself. But everybody has stories, recipes, learnings, legacy to share. And I think everybody has something that should be preserved over the next generations. And Fable is an AI tool, which will be either through app or phone conversations, that aims to do just that, aims to keep company while preserving stories in a format that can be seen as a report, a biography, a recipe book. Fable identify information is spoken and organizes it into different reports accessible only by the family or the owner of the account, which will be at times the nephew, the son, or a member of the family of the elder. When we first met, Omkar, you said that it's very close to you. Life is always peculiar. Life gives you moments, and I've lost my mother when 8 years ago now, and Fable was also born just to remember a bit more. Of course, I remember as much as I can. I hope everything, but everything is sometimes not enough, right? And whether it's not through their own voice, remembering the tiny things, I think, is something very important. And I always say that everyone and people are just memories and experiences. And I think that this tool will be, I said in my first one-liner, I'm aiming to just help elderly loneliness and memory loss avoidance, even just by 0.01%. If I'm able to do that, that's amazing for me. And if I'm able to help just 10 people have a clearer family tree, I'm also happy for that. So this is what I'm trying to do in my nights and weekends and mornings like today. And yes, it's something very cool, I think. There is a bit of shade given a recent, there is many shows that uh, exaggerate what future applications and technologies could become. But I think, and what I'm trying to do is something very simple, a simple AI tool. This is why I'm very passionate about this idea in this project. A simple AI tool that helps, that has conversations and has proactive conversations and questions with the individuals that are connected to it, and then just records their data. As simple as that. Now, I
Yeah,
don't want to prolong myself too much on Fable, but you did
sure.
a great introduction, and I wanted to elaborate a bit.
That is such a noble vision, and I can definitely resonate with it because recently I have lost my grandpa, and he lived a very full life of 92 years, but we hope that he would live 100. So that's never enough. But yeah, uh, if I had this product or if I had this app earlier, I could like or I could definitely use it to get into the nostalgia and always recount those pretty memories that we had with him. It is so amazing. Thank you.
No, of course, yeah, I think it's more than for the direct, allow me to say, descendant, so more than the
Mhm.
nephew, more than the son. I
Mhm.
think the value of this product will be, uh, so I told you I lost my mother 8 years ago. I remember her perfectly, but it is something for my sons, their
Right.
sons. I always believe that we know a lot about two generations above us. I know a lot about my parents, and I know relatively a lot about my grandparents. I maybe know the names of my great grandparents. And this is something sad, I think, because today we have the technology to remember that. We have the technology to map a proper family tree without just, your great grandfather was a great man. I'd like to know why. I'd like to know what he did. I'd like to know where he lived. I'd like to know if he was a family man, if he was a hard worker, what his passions were, even just a bit. And I think that this will lead us in 30 years, 50 years to have amazing documents about our families. And I sometimes say we are democratizing biographies because it's easy to have a biography of somebody famous, but the biographies made are of the 0.0001% of people. And why shouldn't my grandmother have a biography, right? And it doesn't cost much. The service will be up. I'm trying to make it cost the least as I can. So I think €5 a month, like the Aura Ring, could be a good service, maybe less. But I'm for that little price, the value, I think, the generational value will be great. And with data security nowadays, there is no risk of data theft or data loss. And as such, again, it's a compounding effect. I'm not going to be around in 100 years, but a service can, a technology definitely can, and people and families will start having large informations, very well organized, that then can become again biographies. They can become generational recipe books. One of the investors I'm talking to in Italy is one of the leading, or at least owns the leading platform for recipes, food recipes. In Italy, you can imagine that's very important. And food recipes are now very mainstream because there's free recipes online, which are great. There is to be paid for recipes from super chefs from around the world that you can pay for and find online. What about the one plate of pasta, one meal that one grandmother can make super well from one tiny city in Italy? I think that Fable has many different applications. For now, we're building it to be closed just for the family. But I think that my grandma is a great cook, I think. And she will have recipes to leave us, right? So imagine as a future application, just a website where there is meals by grandmas, grandpas all over the world. And I'm not gonna of course I can go find a Michelin chef restaurant plate of pasta, which is going to be great, and it's probably going to be super hard to make with super good products. But maybe I can find the most simple plate with the most simple recipe because it's made in that little town since 10 years. And I think that's also great. That's also something that giving power to people, giving voice with people with no voice. For now, keeping it internal to the family, of course, and then the family can do with that data whatever they want. But some of them will be more reluctant to share it. Some of them, fair enough, will want to keep it to themselves. And some of them will want to share some aspects of it, right? And I think it's beautiful. I think, again, it's an easy product to create. The hurdle there will be mostly making it as human as possible without allowing the elder to forget that they're not speaking to a person. And I personally don't believe that even if they do forget, like my grandmother would forget the second day, but she's very bright still, but she's 95 years old. But I don't think that would be an issue personally, but I think that some people may because uh, again, they're allowing their grandparent and member of the family to speak and spend some of their time to somebody on the phone, which is not real. But what makes it real? I think um, what makes something real? I think perception sometimes is more important than reality, or more real than reality. And um, I don't see, even though some people might call it unethical, I think that I think I know that over 65% of 60-year-old plus people are alone more than 10 hours a day all over the world. And if I'm able to just occupy even just half an hour of their day with this, and again, half an hour of information every day, I think I'm doing a great job because, again, we are a technology generation. I don't think we're going to have this. We're probably still going to be, many of us are going to be not alone, but we're going to have to spend a lot of their time by themselves when we're older. But we know how to use technology. We're going to have our Netflix. We're going to have some people are going to play PlayStation when we're going to be 70 years old. We know how to do that. My grandma lived both the wars. She doesn't know how to play PlayStation. She learned how to use Netflix a bit, but now it's a bit hard. So I think that if we are able to help as much as possible, that's great. Some people will say, go visit your grandma more. Of course, I'm trying to do that as much as I can. I um, I used to go twice a week to have lunch, but twice a week is nothing still. But we all have our lives. We have our work going on. I used to live in Milano until a month ago. Now I'm in Rome for a job. Now I haven't seen my grandma for 3 weeks. She's 95 years old, Those are precious hours and precious days that I'm missing. But I have to also think of my life, and I have to pay my mortgage, and it's tough to balance everything. And yes, sorry, I've been speaking too long. But I'm
No,
very
no.
passionate about this, and I lose myself in these discussions.
It is definitely so heartwarming to see you talk with such passion. And one thing which you said, which really stood out to me, was the secret recipes. Secret recipes. The secret ingredient is love. That it can definitely be a nice twist to your product, and I can see various use cases that this can be used in, and I'm so excited for it. With that being said, I'd like to steer the conversation to uh, understanding more about your professional journey and how does this tie with your vision of Fable AI.
So my professional journey, I've had the privilege to study abroad a few years of my life. When I was 16, I left Italy. I finished my high school in the UK. Then I studied in Spain, and for 4 years in university. And right after that, I decided to start working, and I started working in a corporate, an American corporate in Paris, in their headquarters in Paris, named Haynes Brands. I always thought I could do everything. I wasn't born with the privilege of having a crazy passion, so I about cars or something. So I always thought that if the job was interesting, and I've always thought to be a people person, I've always liked human interaction, social interaction. If I could do that, I would be happy in any industry. So I worked from the first year of my life, of my professional life, in Paris in lingerie. After a year, I left. I went back to Italy after 7 years that I was out, and I started working in a mass jewelry company, and I did marketing for a year and a half. After those two big corporate jobs, I decided I thought I was too theoretical. I wanted to dirty my hands a bit and try true execution. And I joined a startup that launched micromobility, so e-scooters, e-bikes, and e-mopeds in Italy. We were the first company to do that. And I joined as the fifth employee. And after 3 years, we were already 350 employees, launching in the US as well, in Serbia, where we had our IT team. And we were operating in around 60 cities around the world. The year after that, we became the first company, a micromobility company, to become publicly listed on NASDAQ. I was in New York ringing the NASDAQ bell. And it was great. After that, the entire year after that, company went well, and then micromobility was never truly accepted by global markets or global governments, even though micromobility was a step forward in regards to creating smart cities, sustainable cities, less pollution, less car usage, etc., etc. But it was never accepted for many reasons, for wide legislations and regulations. And as such, the industry started to decline, and all players started to decline. I left the company now last July. Um, and it was a company that I loved. It was a job that I loved. I managed from 0 people when I joined. I was as the fifth employee to a team of 45 employees across 3 countries, across Italy, North America, and Belgrade in Serbia. And it was an amazing experience. It was truly an amazing experience that taught me so much, and it truly opened my eyes to the fact that I was, of course, an employee, but it was an entrepreneurial experience because I was doing everything. I was the CMO of the company, so the chief marketing officer, but I was doing business development. I learned my passion for partnerships, and it allowed me to be in close contact with the outside world, meet a lot of people, and meet a lot of bright people with a lot of bright ideas. So it really opened my eyes to I want to be an entrepreneur. I always had many crazy ideas in my life. I have an idea every 2 weeks of not that I want to pursue, but I'm always on the lookout for opportunities, whether to create something new that is needed or optimize something that is existing and it's not up to par to today's standards, or find, and this is my favorite passion, allow me to say, my favorite type of ideas, finding niche products that are used, but that are not sexy, allow me to say. So when I was younger, I always said I'd love to be the guy to make the new toilet paper, or the new, I don't know if you know, this is like an idea I have actually. I'll give it to you here. Hand, maybe not, but hand warmers. When we go to the mountain, at least in Europe and in America, there is they're tea bags, they're hand warmers. And I think that's such a unlooked at industry, not sex industry, but that kids love so much because it brings them true pleasure and true need, because it warms them up when they're cold, and it solves an actual physical issue. And that's something very cool, I think, as well, that I was trying to pursue, but people tend to disregard non-sexy or attractive ideas, even though they could have a direct impact. That's a $1.6 billion industry, the hand warmers idea. And and during my brainstorming sessions that I don't really sit down and have them, but they're always on. A few months ago, I thought of Fable, and I thought of Fable also because they created something in China that I respect, but I can understand why people said that it's completely unethical. But I'm sure it will arrive here in Europe eventually. Maybe not in 10 years, but in 10, 20 years. They created something that honestly stays with the elders for a bit. And then when they pass, it basically replicates them through their voice and their emotion. So that's a bit too far, I think, because it's still an AI, and I wouldn't want that for my grandmother, for her to be, allow me to say, stuck in an iPad that I can
Yes,
ask her questions to. I had my life to ask her questions. That's not the purpose of Fable. Fable is more for, uh, again, keeping them company, potentially provide them an aspect of elder care, because if Fable hears something falling, something with her speech, something minimal with her speech, something not normal, it will send me a notification. So there is a minimal aspect of elder care as well. That Fable is to preserve memories. That's it. It's not going to replicate my grandma. It's not going to use her voice to speak to me in the future. It's not going to do that. It's just going to take the information that she has, the legacy that she has to give, and organize it into different folders, allow me to say it, different biographies. One is going to be for recipes, one is going to be for the stories of each product that she has in her house. I call them artifacts. They're memory holders, right? You look at your desk and you have something that you bought in one of your trips 20 years ago, and you remember that trip, who you were with. And so it's to do that, exactly that. And ideally in the future, if me and my wife, I don't have a wife today, but hopefully I will in the next years. If me and my wife both do it, I think something very interesting could be also mixing eventually the legacies. So of course I will have my Ruggero AI memory book of my biographies and everything I want to tell it to. I will have my wife's AI story as memories. And ideally, how fun would it be to also create one which is mixed, and they communicate to each other, and they either adjust their stories or even not, and just match these stories, put them on the same timeline, and see. I think it would be super interesting to see that I remember something in a way and she remembers it in another way, right? And that's what I meant, that perception is usually more important, not more important, but more real than reality, because again, we're only what we remember, and our brain sometimes, and many experts will confirm this, our brain sometimes plays games on us, and slightly adjusts some of our memories, not in a
yes,
bad
yes.
way.
Memory is super unreliable because the neural connections, it changes every time we try to remember them. And yes, it definitely is a very interesting thing because there is this quote that I know of, not exactly, but no one is truly dead until we remember them because they are alive in our memories. And
Have
that
you
is
seen
a
Coco,
good.
the
Yeah.
Disney movie, the best Disney movie ever made,
Yes.
Coco?
Yes.
Super true. I fully agree with that.
Yes. So your journey as a corporate leader is inspiring, but how did you actually take a leap of faith and embrace the journey to becoming a full-time creator and innovator or entrepreneurial spirit?
So as mentioned, as of today, I have bills to pay, so I have to work, and I'm dedicating extra time that I take away from my social life or whatever aspect of life you can call it. So in nights, weekends, and mornings, I'm focusing on creating projects like Fable. Now I'm entirely focused on Fable, and my leap of faith is sacrificing unnecessary expenses, sacrificing unnecessary time that I could waste on other things. And I'm a believer that social life and sports are essential for your life. So I'm not talking about that, but dedicating any minute that I can to this project so that I can build it and create even just an MVP. And I'm very close to that. I need just a bit of budget to create and to create the first MVP product. And with a software house that I found, a very good software, very good AI software guys that I found, very passionate, that are embracing the vision that I have about Fable. And so what I'm trying to do, and I think this is something that, and this is especially why I love nights and weekends so much, is never be scared of speaking about it. Never be scared of sharing your idea. Nobody's gonna steal it. If they're gonna steal it, it wasn't meant to be yours. Speak about it. Mention it to as many people as you can. Try to find also the right people to mention it to. So my leap of faith is, allow me to say, I've always thought that when I was younger, I always thought that if you tell an idea to somebody, then they will remember you for that and that only. There are people that I told 50 ideas to, and now I'm the guy that comes to them with interesting ideas, not the one idea guy, right? So um, borders are social interaction borders are there, but until they're not. So I've been, again, meeting as many people as I can, meeting potential investors, but this is not an idea for the classic investor. Over the past year, I worked for a venture capital in Milano for passion project. I wasn't getting paid, but I loved the founder. First of all, he was very inspiring. He is very inspiring, and he tries to find founders who are trying to change the world. So with very peculiar startups, and he also inspired me a lot to do that. And the company, the venture capital world is a tough one, where it's an attention game, where if attention today is on HR related companies, funds will go there. Then if it shifts to ESG, we'll go there. So it's tough to have peculiar ideas come up and be targeted by venture capital, especially when revenue models are not so clear, or especially when, even more when revenue is not the main goal, right? Fable is not trying to make, it's easy to say this, but of course it has to repay its bills, it has to repay its cost. But Fable is not here to try and become a billion-dollar company or become publicly listed. I want to create Fable because it's easy. My grandma is 95, so I think the sooner the better. And yes, I truly think that I'm an MVP away from the sort of the final product, because then the final product can always be better. The AI can always speak in a better way. It can ask better questions. It can be more engaging. It can have different types of voices, but all that technology already exists. If you're a ChatGPT user, you're already amazed by what it can do. So Fable will be a conversational AI with a kind personality that listens, first of all, and asks proactive questions, in the sense that if my grandma always told me that she was, when she was young in Paris, she used to bring a famous Italian painter called De Chirico out with her car around Paris, with her mini car around Paris. The AI would listen to her stories and tell her, and then ask her, how was he like? How did you feel when you were with him? Do you remember any special moment, any special dinner? So try to make her elaborate. And through this, it will keep her company, I think, because what humans of any gender like the most is telling stuff about themselves, speaking about themselves, speaking about their stories. And you're taught, and we are taught since when we're kids, that it's good to talk about yourself, but with friends, with families, if you speak too much about yourself, you come across as egocentric, or that you want to speak more about yourself. We are taught about listening more than speaking, right? And I truly respect this. In social interaction, this has to be the cause. With a computer, with an AI, it can always be about me. It can always be just about my experiences. And I'm not saying that this is something wrong with today's society, that people should talk just about themselves. I think the more you listen, the better of a person you are, because you're more selfless, and you give a chance to people that may actually need to speak about themselves. to open up, right? Um, and but again, I think the things are complementary. The AI is not a substitute for a company of the elder's nephews. It's just complementary. It's when the nephew or the son leaves the elder's house after they had lunch together, she can have a conversation with the AI. It's something to add on top. It's an extra layer that yes, that will keep her a bit more company. I say her because in my case it's her, but yes, anybody more company.
Yes, definitely. AI is just an enabler and it makes us more efficient. I truly believe that we shouldn't be afraid of AI, but actually leverage it to its strengths, because it also has a lot of weaknesses and hallucinations. But yeah, with more and more time, it will definitely get better, and we will definitely be at the point of AGI and ASI. So yeah, it is super exciting. And with that, let's move to the next segment. In our next section, we would like to know how well do you balance, or what are some of the biggest challenges that you face while juggling between multiple commitments, that is your professional life, the full-time job, and working on side hustles which are close to your heart, like Fable.
This is a very tough question because this has always been my issue. Uh, uh, Loving to do many things at once. I always thought that I'm putting a little bit of water in many glasses instead of all of the water in one glass, right? And this made me feel many times, and I would say always, like if I was out of focus or working on too many things and not focusing on one. And um until you, allow me to say, succeed in one of them, you feel like you're truly wasting portions of your time. This is an active discussion that I'm having with myself at the same time that I'm having it with you. What I believe and what I think over the last year I've come to realize is that um, what I was saying is true and not true, in the sense that being out of focus is an issue. So something which is very hard in life is to and that is why at the beginning of the call I said I wasn't born with the privilege of having one crazy passion about cars or about something, right? Because I think that these people, the people that have passions, are privileged because they know what they want to do since day one, right? I love cars. I want to be a Formula One driver. That's my dream. I'll do that. Excellent. As hard as it may be, you have one focus and you work your life, every day of your life, towards that. Myself, I don't have that. And I have the opposite, in the sense that what I love to do is thinking of different things and different industries and different products, and every day of the most peculiar things, which is, I love it because it's fun for me coming up with, I'll even say weird ideas, but I realize that it's an issue in some ways because I allocate my efforts on many different actions rather than um, compounding, as they say. And the power of compounding, you either understand it or you're a slave to it. And so to answer your question, it is not easy. I try to do my best. First of all, I think that you need to focus on what you can actually change and affect. So, and you have to start from your needs. I need to work to earn some money for different expenses of my life. So I need to do that. I need to live a healthy life and to live as long as I can. So I need to do a bit of sport, and I need some time with my friends and my family. And that's already more than 15, if not 10, 15 hours a day with these two actions alone. Then growth, they say that growth is done outside of working hours, nights and weekends, mornings, whenever you have the time. So I want to do that. The goal of my life is to become the better person I can, the better version of myself I can. Not be crazy successful, not have a yacht, not just become the best version I can, have a lovely wife and have a lovely family. I'm very humble in that. Of course, it's good to live comfortably, but I think that's priority number one, is finding good people to spend your life with. I have a little brother who actually brought me into nights and weekends. I'll tell you just this story. And he's building something very cool about a music social network called Dig, and that allows you to find people through music and music tastes. And he always says, even though he's younger than me, he always says, you can be as rich as you want, you can be on your private island, but if you have a little bit of sore throat every day, every 2 minutes, you're just going to think about your sore throat. So health, good company are priorities. Then we'll see about the rest. So I was saying, once you have these priorities, or at least your priorities understood, and this is not easy to do, but I think that it's important that each of us does that. Once we have this at least under control, or as much under control as we can, you can start planning a bit. Then life is casual sometimes, in the sense that you have no idea if today I can plan that tonight I'm going to work on Fable, but maybe tonight I'm not going to be able to do that. So Richard Branson used to say, over prepare and go with the flow. And I believe this is true. So over prepare, try to schedule your days, try to put calendars on your calendar that books your time to work on stuff, to allocate your time in different apps, or sorry, on different activities, and then try to follow it as much as you can. One push-up a day is better than doing 100 on day one and then 0 on the next days.
Yeah,
This is hard to believe, but it's true. And
yeah.
yes,
A lot of interesting stuff that I picked up from our conversation is, don't be a noun, be a verb. Because the problem with people with passion is they get too fixated on that, and the uh, you can't say like it is harsh, but it is the punishment of life is you become what you think of. And if you're too focused, you will eventually go through that and not explore or evolve into different fields. And it is really very important to have such kind of vision and such kind of clarity. Because the thing with creators and thing with creative folks like me is, we are interested in a lot of diverse stuff. So figuring out what to build is sometimes
it's
more
the hardest
challenging.
part, for
Yeah,
sure. It's the hardest part. I've had the 10 ideas to enter into nights and weekends. But and so how did I choose that? Uh, I looked at some videos of people, how do you choose your best idea? And at the end, it was, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? What idea would you pursue? I'm not, I will say, arrogant to say that I want to leave a mark on history. That doesn't interest me. As I told you before, I want to just have a good family and live a good life and healthy life. But if I could have done something out of the 10 ideas I had, whether it was the hand warmers one, a marketplace I had in my Fable, I think could have been the one that would have brought me most pleasure. Me, my grandma, my father, my little brother. And again, Fable is for elders, but can be used by anybody. So it can be a diary, right? If I start when I'm 30, imagine the information that I will have recorded until I'm 90 years old, hoping that I live until 90 years old. Endless information that then can be summarized. It can be made into short stories, novels. Who knows? Who knows where technology will be in 10 years? That can be done already today, though. So I think it's exciting. I think it democratizes many. The No, it gives everybody a chance to have a biography. And today, nobody has biographies. Whether it's a good written one, whether it's a robot written biography, it's a biography for your family and the generations that will come after you. So the kids of my kids will see my biography, my wife's biography, my father's biography, and my grandma's biography, all there on the bookshelf. This is what I imagine, at least, on the bookshelf. See it as I say biography, but it's wrong to say biography because I don't think it's going to be a 200 pages a book. I just finished reading the Winston Churchill biography, heavy book, 300 pages biography. That's not the objective of Fable. Fable should be, as you said before, actually, a collection of short stories, short novels, categorized in a type of information. So again, stories, memories, stories about things you own, stories about your friends. When my grandma will pass, imagine having in her biography all that she thinks about her friends in positive ways, of course. Then the AI will filter, and maybe not for me, but you can ask it to filter and make it good. But imagine gifting each friend of hers a little note of her last words for them, right? The last words are dedicated for the, not even for the close family, for the one member who's there with them there. This would allow you to have a written, not testament as in what I leave you commercially, but testament what I leave you emotionally to as many people as you remembered to talk about with Fable, right? So at the end of your path, me as a nephew, the owner of the app for my grandmother, will have access to this information, and I will gladly share her last words about her best friend with the family of the best friend, her last words about the other person with the last. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's again, as you were saying before, it makes her immortal, not because I can speak to her always, but because I can read about her always with some certain aspect of clarity. You can argue that Coco had the images, and images are great for sure. But as you know, like me, as having lost somebody, images are great, but the value of a video or you can never have enough, I think. Of course, a picture is great. It's better than nothing. But having more, and this is what's going to be great about our generation, that there's so much content about our life already, videos, voice recordings, etc. That it's going to be very hard to forget us, I think, or especially for our families. And I want to help in
Yes.
that path.
Yes. With all these life experiences and experiences till now, what are some learnings or what are some piece of advices that you would share with other creative builders, builders at Build Space, and everyone in the world who is doing something creative and working on their passion?
Don't be scared of speaking about your idea, and especially since technology allows us to be one email away, one video message away, one letter away from somebody, write them. Find them, because a message has to reach the right ears for it to work, I think. But don't be write them. Again, I mentioned my little brother because he's been great in these. Again, he's the one who introduced me to nights and weekends, but he has his passion. So he's one of these privileged people that we were talking about before. He loves music. He loves hip hop. He's trying to build a social network on music. He produces music. He's all in on music. He loves some North American rappers, the Wu-Tang. He wrote them directly, the manager, guys, I want to work with you. I think that you guys should do a concert in Italy. If I can, let me help you. And now he's working with the agent of one of these guys. And it's insane because these guys are one of the most famous bands in the world. And with all due respect to my brother who's going to hear this and listen to this, my brother is a 26-year-old guy from Milano who produces music. That's it. And he's speaking daily with one of the managers of one of the Wu-Tang guys, trying to organize a concert in Milano. So again, you never know. An email costs you nothing apart from 10 minutes of your time. And once you wrote that one email, modifying it costs you 3 seconds. And then you can send it to other people. So send emails, send messages on Instagram, on Reddit,
Completely.
Twitter. Uh, don't be
Yes.
scared of that. Nobody's going to steal your idea. If they do, don't be afraid of that. Carry on. It's not who does it first, it's who does it best. And this is taught by all the business books that you can read. So focus on you, focus on your execution. Details are everything. You have to be the person who likes it first, not anybody else. And if you like it, I think maybe not, people are not going to like it, but you're going to push it with a passion that is going to make other people like it. So again, I think the main learning is that I learned, that I tell myself, don't be scared of speaking to people. And because if you speak to them with passion, they will actually listen. And maybe they're not interested and they're not going to pay you any money or invest in your startup. But at least maybe you made a brand ambassador who then will go home and say to his son or his daughter, today I spoke to a guy who spoke to me about his passion. He's building a very cool app. And then it's a ripple effect, and you never know where the ripple will end. So this is
Yes.
how I started, and this is what I'm trying to do.
Yes. So the
This is
odds
what
of
you are
finding.
allowing to do. I think this is what you
Yeah.
are allowing to do, Omkar. So it's
Thank you.
amazing
Thank
what
you
you're
so
doing.
much.
No, no, of
Yeah.
course.
So I was saying that the odds of us finding each other and the odds of you being on nights and weekends, these are like low probability events, but they happened. So maybe it is for some grand design and we are meant to do this. And yeah,
Absolutely.
it is empowering in that way.
And you and I would have probably never met in our lives. And if you come to Italy next, you have to write me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you never know, and you never know what can happen and who you're gonna meet. So always, I'm a big believer of, this is gonna be very cliche and very cringe, but always have a smile on your face. There was a very important Italian entrepreneur who always said, and I will finish with this, and I think this is valuable for any entrepreneur or any person in the world. Walk like if you had the sun in your pocket. So when you enter a room, everybody looks at you and you're shining. Not about what you say, it's about how you say it and with the attitude that you say it with. So walk like if you had the sun in your pocket. And I think many doors open by themselves then.
That is a very good way or perspective to look at life. With that, we will come to our final thoughts. And I would like to understand, what legacy do you hope to live with Fable?
I would love for Fable to become a tool that is seen in a good light and not in a, allow me to say, Black Mirror way, because I think that I can understand if people mention that the Chinese app that we were talking about before that creates your grandma after she passes. I can understand why that can be a bit unethical or Black Mirror-ish, because again, that's something a bit odd. But what I would love Fable to become is a companion that just keeps a bit of companionship, is an extra set of ears for a nephew or the family. So that's what about elder care that I was mentioning before, and something that keeps even just the stories of my grandma and you of your family, if you like the idea as much as you're saying. So if it just serves me and you, I will be happy with that. I think that it will serve many, because I think that many are, it's, I think that you should try to live your life with the least amount of regrets as possible. And not going to my grandma every day of the week to have lunch instead of going twice a week will be a regret, definitely. But life is also life, and you cannot just go to your grandma's house to have lunch because you have to live your life also. And maybe you can. Some people will say maybe you can. Probably you can. For me, it's been tough, and so if I can do that, and I look at my at the loss of my mom, and we have many pictures, we have some videos, because that generation was 10 years ago. We didn't have too many iPhones or too many. We did, but so that is a big regret of mine. And I was living abroad when she got sick, and I was in Spain, and my little brother was in Italy alone. So that's a big regret of mine. I'm not saying that Fable would have not given me that regret, because it would still be there, because I would still be abroad. But having something that I can read, now I'm about to get engaged to a beautiful woman, and I think my mom would have loved her. Allowing this woman to read a bit more about my mom, I would do it for that. Then, of course, nobody can. My mom was 55, so relatively young. Nobody can know that. With hindsight, everybody's good. Everybody would have done that. But if we make it acceptable, and my objective is to make it acceptable amongst elders first, because that's the most pressing need. But then eventually, you and I are not of old age, right? But if we already start using it, unfortunately, or fortunately, but in this case, unfortunately, nobody knows where life goes and when life ends. I have to go to work now in Rome with a moped, and Rome is a very dangerous place to go in a moped with. So if as I said before, I don't want to live my own legacy, or at least I don't have grand ambitions about living my legacy, but Fable will allow it regardless. Even if I do nothing all day, Fable will allow me to leave a legacy, if not for the world, for my family. And I think legacy, that's legacy. Not everybody is Napoleon, who has conquered cities and has that legacy. Legacy is something that you live for future generations, whether massive or very small. We're all different. We're all blessed by different gifts when we were born, and with different ambitions. So I think everybody should,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and that's a respectable thing. Not only because you have a small legacy, shouldn't be respected. Everybody's got something to say in a different way, and I think it's good to be remembered. Everybody's remembered in
Yes.
Coco until they're not. And Coco is a special movie because it opens your eyes to exactly this, the importance of remembering older generations. And for example, in Italy, some families do it, but we don't really remember great, great, great grandparents. And that's a pity, because I would love to know, even just to know their name and where they lived and what they did. And I didn't have the chance to do that. And I'd love for at least I don't even know how you say it in English, but the kids of my kids of my kids of my kids to be able to remember who I was. Even just Ruggero was a guy who lived across, who tried many things, many different ideas, and hopefully they'll be on Fable and read their Fable biography.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That is the dream. And congrats on your engagement. And
Thank you.
I really thank you for agreeing to be on my podcast and sharing your inspiring story with us. And with that being said, any need or any help that you need for Fable, I am always a call away. And definitely I would
I,
like to be engaged in this throughout and even after build space. Thank you for building Fable, and thank you for everything. Thank you.
Onkar, thank you so much for this. I'm here for anything I can support you with the same way. And definitely, definitely, definitely. Absolutely. I'll definitely keep you posted on the proceedings. And as soon as I have an MVP, you'll be the first person I send it to. After my grandma, I promise.
Yes. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
day. Bye bye.
You too. Thank you so much.